Hey everyone, welcome to the KastKing podcast. My name is John, and today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do Behind the Brand. So I'm bringing on KastKing for the first Behind the Brand series, and we have Al Noraker, the Vice President of Business Development for KastKing. And this week we're going to be covering a little bit of the backstory about KastKing, designing new products, what trends are out there that you should be aware of. But today we are going to learn about the backstory of KastKing. So welcome to the show, Al.
Hey, John, thank you very much. So most people, fortunately, have heard of KastKing by now. That wasn't necessarily true just a couple of years ago. KastKing is a fairly new company. Overall, we're about 8 years old is all, which in the fishing industry is baby stages. I mean, that's, compared to some of the brands that have been out there for 95, almost 100 years, we're just starting on our journey. They're all well down their path. But KastKing actually started in a garage in New York, and actually in the Long Island part of New York. And they started selling fishing line, and they started selling it through Amazon. That's how we first started. And KastKing from the very beginning was developed as an e-commerce, direct-to-consumer brand that would offer exceptional values and good quality. Since the beginning, we've really taken that up a notch. And in fact, our tagline today is affordable innovation. And, a lot of companies have taglines. It's not just a tagline to us. It's why we go to work every day, is to truly design and create the highest performing, best quality products that are available to any angler at every level out there, but to do it at extremely affordable prices, actually a fraction of what they would typically spend for many of the other brands. Our direct-to-consumer business model really allows us to do that. We've taken that multiple markup steps out of the equation, so now the consumer can come directly to either KastKing.com or through Amazon and search any KastKing products, and they'll be able to buy that with free 2-day fast shipping and get truly the best performing products in every category that we work in. Here's an example. 4 years ago, we didn't have any professional anglers using our products. Today, we have people like Brett Chapman, who is a past Angler of the Year on the elite side, now Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour professional. We have Cliff Crochet, another Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour angler on the bass side. We have Dylan Nussbaum, who is a past champion of the NWT, which is the National Walleye Tour. Overall, we have, I guess right now, between professional guides and professional fishermen in every category, from saltwater to bass to salmon steelhead, catfish, we have almost 80 professional anglers making a living using KastKing products today. In addition to that, we have about 80 what we call brand ambassadors. These are enthusiasts, people who fish multiple times every week, and they talk about our products on social media, and they all rely on KastKing products as well. So we literally have tons of people out there that are really into the sport, and they trust KastKing because of our quality. And then, of course, they love it for its prices as well. So that's kind of how we started and what we're all about.
So going into some of the markups for people who aren't really business savvy, like what is it generally? Like usually for my, I've done some product development in the past. So, you go, you design something, you take it to a manufacturer, they produce it, and then it either goes direct to the consumer, which you guys are doing, or it can be touched by multiple hands, and each person has like their own little tax essentially. So can you kind of walk us at a high level? You don't have to give us the specific numbers, but just so somebody knows that if it's going to a shop, or what is it?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different levels of distribution. Many years I worked in big box retail, and we would buy product direct from the manufacturer. And then of course we had a markup. So the manufacturer had to have a markup in order to do all their work to build the product. We had our markup, and then the consumer would pay the end retail price. Sometimes there's actually a two-step distribution. If you go through a distributor who then sells it to a smaller dealer, who then has to mark it up before the consumer gets that product. So it's actually two steps in between. All of those mean increased prices to the consumer. And by building it ourselves, manufacturing it ourselves, and selling direct to the consumer, we're able to cut out a lot of that and still give them, great quality, but yet at affordable prices. One thing I really want to make clear, there's a lot of people in the e-commerce world that sell fishing products. Most of them are not manufacturers. Most of them don't do all their own design work. In-house, we have a very large office. We have 4 engineers with combined over 70 years of real engineering experience that do all of our design and tooling work. We don't buy product from other people. We actually spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in designing and tooling up for new reel designs. That's something you only find at bigger companies out there like the Shimano's and the Daiwas and of course KastKing and people like that. So when you buy product from KastKing, you're buying product that is designed and engineered by professionals who have dozens of years of experience in this industry, and you're getting really high performance at the best prices available.
Absolutely. So are you guys going to be staying on the Amazon and the website, or are you guys going to get into shops, or what's the kind of game plan there?
Really great question. And the consumer is really dictating this in the industry right now for us, because for the first 6 years, we were exclusively sold direct to the consumer, KastKing.com or Amazon. Then some of the major players out there in the industry started getting phone calls from their consumer. For example, Academy sports stores down in the South and Southeast. Fabulous stores. Love those stores. Being an ex-retailer, I recognize and appreciate the quality of stores Academy represents. They have a ton of customers that were buying KastKing product from Amazon or our own website, but yet they loved shopping at Academy. So they were sending notes into the management at Academy and saying, hey, when can we start buying KastKing at our favorite Academy store close by? So a couple of years ago, we started working with Academy, and actually at the beginning of 2021, we do have a select assortment of product. Not everything that KastKing makes, because we make thousands of items in all categories of fishing, but there's a select assortment that is now, in fact, available at Academy sports and outdoor stores. Things like some special combos that we make just for Academy. They carry our highest end reels like the Bassinator Elite, the Speed Demon series of spinning and casting reels. They carry those. They carry our Covert fluorocarbon fishing line and a number of other products. Another major retailer, they're kind of an online retailer also, but well respected within the bass fishing community, is Tackle Warehouse. They're probably the leader in the country selling specifically to the bass consumer. They had the same thing. Their consumers wanted to buy KastKing through Tackle Warehouse, so they came to us, and we were able to find a way to allow them to do that, but not raise our prices. So the consumer is paying the same price at either Academy or at Tackle Warehouse that they would buy on Amazon or on KastKing.com. There's just honestly less margin for us, but we're able to make that work. So the consumer pays the same price, and they are now able to buy it at maybe the place they would prefer to shop at.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then regarding like entrenched brands in people's minds, has it been a challenge as a new company to kind of get people to go from, hey, I'm a Shimano guy, like anything that's not Shimano is junk, and then it's like, how do you get people to kind of open their minds a little bit?
Yeah, that is what a $1 million question for us, because when you sell only consumer direct, and the only relationship that the consumer has with your product is on a video screen or on the telephone when they're searching on that website, it's hard for them to understand truly how good that product is until they put it in their hands. So we do two things. First of all, we spend weeks on the road doing consumer shows. All the different markets across the country. There are consumer fishing or outdoor shows where for 4 or 5 days, the consumer comes into a big convention center and they walk around and they see all the products. They can actually touch it and feel it. And in most cases, buy it right there at the consumer show if they would like. So we spend thousands of hours traveling and doing consumer shows to introduce the KastKing brand and quality to the fishing consumer. That has gone a long ways. And we've done this now for 5 years, and it's a big investment in time and money, but it's really important to our brand building purpose. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I mentioned to you about working with people like Brett Chapman and Cliff Crochet and those highly recognized names within the fishing industry, where people really respect the fact that these guys are competing for $100,000 every week in the tournaments. And if they're willing to put their trust into a brand like KastKing when they're doing that, hey, those guys, they could be fishing any product they want out there, whether it's Shimano, Daiwa, you name it, they could fish anything they want. And they've chosen to fish KastKing because they think it gives them an advantage, not only in the performance, but people like Brent and Cliff, they also appreciate the fact that their fans can afford to use the same product that they use without breaking the bank. And they have both said they really, really like that. Here's an interesting story about Cliff Crochet. I've known Cliff for many, many years, since I've been in the industry for so long, but he came to me at the Bassmaster Classic about 3 years ago and said, Al, tell me about this KastKing stuff. I've heard about it, but I haven't really seen it. So we were looking at some of the reels, specifically the Bassinator Elite, which is our highest end tournament reel. And man, I really wanted Cliff Crochet to be using those reels. So I said, Cliff, let me give you a couple reels and you give them a try and see what you think. He said, no, I'm not going to take anything for free. He says, but I'll tell you what, I'll buy 2 of them here at the show. And if I like them, we'll come back and we'll talk some more. So he did. He bought 2 reels at the Bassmaster Classic. And it would have been about 3 months later, he had been using those all season in the tournaments. At ICAST that year, he came back to us in our booth and he said, Al, I got to tell you, I wasn't so sure about KastKing because I had never used one. It's a pretty new brand. It's not Shimano. It's not Daiwa. It's not any of those big brands that you see all over the place. But he said, that is the best reel I've ever used at any price, period. He says, how do we get together? I want to support KastKing and I want to use it in all my tournaments. And we signed him as a professional angler right there on the spot. And so he's been with us for 2 years, just as getting ready to re-sign a next contract with us. But it's an interesting story because he wasn't going to take anything free. He said, I'll try it with my own money. And if it's good, I'll come back. If it's no good, you'll never hear from me again. And he came back.
I like that. That's the better way to do it. And then I guess the last question I have is, being direct to consumer primarily, and I know you're kind of expanding into other stores as well, but there are some people who would say like, what about the smaller tackle shops? Like what's going to go on with them? Like what are your thoughts? And as kind of being part of the newer way of doing business, right? It's all mostly going online just because there's so much cost savings for a lot of the parties involved outside of the old model. Like what do you think is going to happen to the smaller shops, or is there a way to support them, or what's the kind of game plan?
This is a great question. It's one of the biggest questions within the retail industry today. So, little background on myself: I spent 25 years, almost 25 years, in big box retail as a vice president of Fred Meyer stores up in the Northwest, and then I spent 15 years as director of product development for Eagle Claw Fishing Tackle, where we were building product for big box retail and dealer type stores. During all that time, almost 40 years, I kept watching this trend grow of how the consumer wanted to shop. The consumer was changing the way that they shop. They wanted to shop more online. They wanted to shop with their phone. They wanted to maybe be if they're out on their boat and they run out of something, they wanted to order it on their phone while they were on their boat, and when they get home, it was there. So my decision in moving to KastKing really came out of what the consumer was telling us they wanted to do. And I wanted to be part of that before I retired and got out of business, right? And it's been the best decision I've ever made. But the question you asked really relates to, again, how the consumer wants to shop. And there is a reason for every portion of retail to exist today, in my opinion. The online is a huge growth area, and it's not slowing down. It's not going to go away. If anybody thinks that it's just going to be a flash in the pan, they're wrong. This is the future. But there's still a reason for big box retail. Wide assortment, many different brands, high prices to opening price point prices. The assortment, the shopping experience is very fun. Consumer in the US still sees shopping as a bit of entertainment, and they like going to those type of stores. So there's a reason for those stores, Bass Pro Shops, Academy, Dick's Sporting Goods. There's a reason for all those stores to exist, and they're doing well, and they'll continue to do well. The small mom and pop dealer type stores that are located next to your favorite fishing lake or your favorite fishing river or someplace on a coastline someplace. Those dealers offer the opportunity for the consumer to buy something specific for that market. There might be a lure or a type of line that works best on that lake, and only that dealer will know that. And maybe they're the only ones that carry that product. They also have the ability to educate the consumer at a much higher level than maybe some of the big box retail that doesn't have the hourly staffing and knowledge base in the store, where a small dealer shop has that knowledge base, especially about their local environment. So there's a real reason for every level of retail to exist. I just happen to work in the online arena right now, and I think it's probably the freshest, most important growth category within retail, and really happy that that is our direction. But there is a reason for every piece to exist, and I think over time, you're going to see ways that KastKing will find a way to fit into each of those. We've already done it with Academy on the big box side, and I'm estimating that in the fairly near future, you will start to see our brand show up in more of the dealer base retailers as well, because they have the same consumer that's buying us online and has had great experiences with KastKing. They just happen to want to buy it or have an opportunity to buy it maybe at a small dealer as well.
Perfect. I think that's a perfect place to stop. Guys, tomorrow we're going to be talking about designing new products with Al. So come back tomorrow. Thanks, Al, for being on the show.
Thank you, John.